Welcome to Suffering Meatball Chronicles, the podcast where we relive the sound and the sweet chaos of live music. We are your host, Johnny Epiphone, and I'm Rob Henry. And here's the deal. This show is all about concerts we've seen, the stories we've lived, and the moments that made us feel alive, even if the details are a little fuzzy.
We may not always remember the exact dates, the full set lists, or even the band names. Don't judge us, but we remember how it felt. From tiny dive bars to massive stadiums, from legendary acts to that one guy with the harmonica. This is our passion for live shows, loud nights, and the beautiful mess of music fandom.
So grab a drink, settle in, and let's stumble down memory lane. Because even if the facts aren't perfect, the vibes are. Hey, everybody, we're back for episode 9 of the Suffering Meatball Chronicles. I'm your host, Rob Henry, and the other host here is Johnny Epiphone.
Hey, everybody.
How you feeling today, Johnny?
I feel pretty good. I'm psyched to do this show today, more than usual.
I'm psyched to do this show too. We're going to talk about the mighty Megadeth and all that's happened in the Megadeth world to this date. Johnny and I have seen shows together. We've been to shows where we didn't go to the show together, but we were still at the same show. And I've seen some shows recently as 2022, the last time they toured. And so we're just going to talk about Megadeth today and the fact that Dave Mustaine announced earlier this year or this summer that he is calling it quits, that Megadeth is going to do their last album and tour the United States for the last time in 2026, which, you know, it's hard to believe. You know, they've been doing this for 40 plus years. Dave's been doing it for 40 plus years. Megadeth, has been a driving force in the metal community. Dave always seems to outdo himself when he puts a band together and writes music and puts it out there. Any true metal fan knows Dave Mustaine's work and the great songs and music that's come out of Megadeth over the years.
And do we really think, I mean, he hasn't really specifically said he's going to leave the music business entirely. Just Megadeth is being put to rest. So do you think maybe we'll get some solo stuff from him, or he'll maybe still be involved in producing bands maybe?
You know, I don't really want to look forward to what Dave has planned. I kind of want to embrace, the last of Megadeth, right? I've been a Megadeth fan, since discovering them. And if you are a Megadeth fan, you know the story of him getting kicked out of Metallica in New York and put on a bus to go back to LA with his tail tucked between his legs. It kind of crushed him. He did write a lot of that early Metallica music, but he also rose above it, right? He was determined to be heavier and better than Metallica.
Yes. And I think he succeeded on some levels for sure.
Yeah. He may not have gotten the notoriety, back in 1990, when that Black Album from Metallica was released and, Enter Sandman hit the charts and all of a sudden they just became this big juggernaut of metal. And if you were a true Metallica fan at that time, you kind of understood the ramifications of now them being popular and being put on the radio and being so huge and selling massive albums and selling out stadiums and where they are today, right? Nothing against Metallica. I'm a Metallica fan, but once I kind of learned how all that stuff went down, I thought a little different about them and how they treated Dave, and then Dave crawling out of the gutter to, create great albums like Rust in Peace and Killing Is My Business and Peace Sells. That Peace Sells album is still one of my favorite albums of Megadeth.
Oh, me too. It's probably still my very favorite of theirs. That lineup in particular.
Yes, Marty Friedman, an amazing guitar player.
No, Marty Friedman was not on Peace Sells.
Oh, he wasn't on Peace Sells. Oh, I'm sorry.
Chris
I was thinking of Rust. That was Rust in Peace.
Yes.
Yes, Chris Poland. Yes. Peace Sells. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay.
Just that album art, and the face, the shape of the world at that point, and that album came out, and we were just like, that's right, man. Peace sells. Who's buying?
Kind of relevant today with what's going down in the Middle East again.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So Megadeth, again, Dave Mustaine put out a press release saying that Megadeth would do their last album. It's going to be a self-titled album. It'll be released on January 23rd, 2026. And they just recently released the first single for the album called Tipping Point.
Ah. Let's thrash it out.
Let's thrash it out. So yeah, Tipping Point. I've already seen some live footage of them touring, Europe, doing this song, and I hope the rest of the album's like this. All right, so that is the very beginning intro of their new single, which dropped on October 3rd. And it is brutal. Typical Dave guitar sound, great metal, just in your face. And Dave Mustaine and Chris Rakeshaw and the band have been in the studio for the past year putting this album together. So I'm sure it won't disappoint. And like I said, they are touring Europe. And then they'll come back to the States next year and do some extensive, U.S. dates to say goodbye as Megadeth, in their current form.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a little sad about the Megadeth going away because they were the band that reignited my passion for metal when Peace Sells came out. I was sort of familiar with the story of Dave getting kicked out of Metallica, but I totally missed the first album, Killing Is My Business, and it wasn't until Peace Sells came out that I went back and picked it up and went, oh, okay. But I'm sad because Peace Sells just totally reignited my love of metal.
Right. And that album came out in 86. The band formed in 83. Dave got kicked out of Metallica, made his way back to LA, moved into his mom's house again and was completely depressed until he realized that he had to put a band together. And he put out a book, what year was this book put out here? Let me take a look here. The year for this book was 2010. So he wrote a self-titled book called Mustaine, and the story does tell about Metallica, but I was more interested in about his return into the music business. And there was Dave Ellefson, and one of his buddies was living below Dave, the flower pot hitting the air conditioning unit below. And those guys come knocking on the door asking for cigarettes. And Dave was all hungover and pissed and slammed the door on him. And then about an hour later, they came back and said, hey, can you buy beer? And Dave was like, yeah, man, I can buy beer. And he went and bought the case of Heineken. And they sat down and became instant friends over that case of Heineken. And, they all joined the first band. It was called, what was the first band called? First band was called what's the name of the first album? Fallen Angels. Yeah, so they named themselves Fallen Angels, and then Dave changed the band shortly thereafter, saying that, man, I keep getting these alerts. I don't know what to do about this. I don't know if we should stop and start again. Let's just keep going. I mean, I would like to think that for some reason it's all going to work out. Yeah, there it is again. Participant John Newman is having a problem. Participant failed with member guest. Failure reason. Error. Media recorder is not working as expected. All right. Well, let me hit. We were talking about Dave Mustaine meeting Dave Ellefson and
Greg
Hanneman. Right. So, yeah, they went and got a case of Heineken and became friends. So let's talk about the current lineup of Megadeth. Of course, Dave Mustaine playing guitar and lead vocals. James Lomenzo is the bassist, guitar and vocals. Dirk Buren does drums, and instead of butchering Timu's last name, we're just going to call him Timu. He is the guitarist and vocalist, the current guitarist and vocalist.
Those Finnish names are tough. They are really tough.
Yeah, they are. So I personally can't wait to see Megadeth's final shows, because hopefully he'll pull out some music that he hasn't done in a while and surprise us with some songs that he may have never done live.
Yeah.
So we both have a list of shows we want to run down and see, but I also want to talk about the book a little bit. I read a passage last night. And as you know, Dave struggled with substance abuse, right? He was a heroin addict for a while. And he basically was talking about the manager of the band at that time. What's his name? Let me find his name. His name was
not Ron Lafitte, was it?
No. Let me find it here. What was the name? John Jones, I want to say. Anyway, first off, when he first met Dave Ellefson, he said that it would be confusing having two Daves in the band. So he asked, Dave Ellefson what his middle name was, and Dave said it was Warren, and Mustaine basically said that's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not gonna fly.
Why don't you take on the name War, because that'll be the whole Viking, lineage or whatever from your family. And the other Dave did not like it. He said, well, from this day forth, I'm going to call you Junior. So they got this guy to manage the band, Jay Jones, right? And he later died during a fight. Some guy stabbed him with a butcher knife. At least that was the rumor.
Oh, geez.
They were fighting over a bologna sandwich. So that's tragic. But Dave, I just want to read a quote here about how Dave perceived Gar Samuelson. He said he was an absolute virtuoso on drums. And I would say that I would agree that Gar had he was playing thrash metal, but had a real kind of groovy.
It was a jazz fusion background. Yeah.
Right. So apparently both Jay Jones and Gar were heroin addicts, which kind of added to the calamity of the early days. And Gar asked Dave if he had ever tried heroin, and Dave said never. And he responded, I don't understand why you guys like that shit. And then Gar laughed and said, you mean smack? And Dave said, yeah, what's the big deal? And Gar nodded, smiled knowingly, and said, dude, if you want to be a great musician, you have to try heroin. You'll see, it's like being back in the womb. So, you know,
And hence it started.
a lot of hence it started. A lot of great musicians have gone down that road and ended their life tragically with a needle and a spoon.
Let's be clear. You don't have to do heroin to be a great musician.
Yes.
Now, some great musicians have been heroin addicts. Charlie Parker, Keith Richards, Mick Taylor from the Stones as well. Just a lot of people, but I would suggest avoiding heroin.
Phil Anselmo. I don't know if it was heroin with Phil Anselmo, but he was definitely addicted there for a while and came out of it. I think it was more opiates for him.
Right.
So, all right. So we're talking about Megadeth, and we basically want to talk about our experiences and our shows and a couple of really cool stories to go along with those shows. And Johnny, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. I was working in college radio, WGMU, in 1986 through 89. And I had the opportunity to go see Megadeth through the Capitol Records. They had just signed to Capitol for their Peace Sells album. So the first time...
Yes.
Go ahead.
Peace Sells album. We can talk about that later, but go ahead.
So that's my favorite lineup of the band. That's when I was introduced to them. Gar Samuelson on drums, Chris Poland on guitar, Dave Mustaine guitar and vocals, and Junior, aka Dave Ellefson, on bass and vocals. Anyways, I go see them, Dark Angels opening, which I don't know if you've ever seen Dark Angel, Rob, but they're pretty fierce.
I was at that show, Johnny. I was at that show. I was at that. It was November 11th in 1986 at the Bayou in Georgetown.
Yes. Gene Hoglan was still drumming for Dark Angel, and he was massive at the time. It's just an amazing drummer. I don't know why I just did that accent, but anyways, I didn't get to meet the band at this point. It wasn't until the next time I saw them, which would have been a couple months later. Would have been I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that 1986 Bayou show, I remember being there. I was up. I had that girl at the time, and we went to the show, and I think Sean was there, and maybe one other person. Maybe Russell was there. I don't remember. It was four of us, and we were upstairs in the balcony, and Megadeth music has a way of making me want to move, right? So I started banging my head and was told to stop. You're not allowed to do that. And I was like, well, I'm standing in place banging my head. And they're like, no moshing. And I'm like, well, I'm not even trying to mosh. But there was no arguing with the venue security at that time.
They were jarheads.
And Dave they were jarheads. And Dave took notice of that. And at the end of the show, he literally pushed one of the security guys that was sitting on the stage, pushed him off and started yelling at him, saying, hey, these guys want to jump around. They should be able to jump around. You guys shouldn't be stopping them from jumping around. And that's how the show ended, with heroin-fueled Dave being pissed at security because the folks there couldn't really jump around. Like,
I always wondered
that was what
at the Bayou, why they were so adamant about you couldn't even. I mean, I can understand they didn't want moshing, they didn't want people to get hurt and they would get sued, but just even jumping up and down, which you're not going to bump into anybody for the most part. They were totally against any kind of movement. You could bang your head and that was about it.
Yeah. Well, in 86, I had the full on mullet and the long hair like everybody else. And I was just literally just thrashing my hair around and the guy said, stop. And I was like, okay, why? And he went away, and I, of course, started banging my head again. And he came back and told me to stop, or I was going to get kicked out. It was it was kind of demeaning, actually, but I still enjoyed the show. Fantastic show. Okay, good. That was the '86 show, and
Right.
then Johnny.
Then a couple months later, February 23rd, 87, I went back to see Megadeth again, and Flotsam and Jetsam opened up for him. And that name's probably familiar to some people because that's where Jason Newsted played bass before he joined Metallica.
That's right.
So their second album had just come out, Doomsday for the Deceiver, I believe. And they were touring with Megadeth. And this time I got asked if I wanted to interview Megadeth. And of course I said, yes. So
yeah, go ahead, Johnny.
It was a good show. I actually have a recording of it. That if you ask real nice, I might give you a copy of. But
so that was February of 87.
Right.
All right. Yeah, they were touring extensively, right? November 86, a few months later, they come back, you get to interview them. Where did the interview take place?
On their tour bus, which was kind of really annoying because the bus was running the whole time and you could hear it on the recording. And I went back, and since I that was like one of my first interviews, and I wasn't very coherent and very, very good at it and polished. So I went back, and when I cut the interview together, I re-recorded my questions because sometimes Dave would answer something that I hadn't really asked. So I made it more coherent. There was substances being passed around at that interview, and I did not partake, but other people did.
Oh, of course. That's who they were.
Yes.
And then they came back to the Bayou
in May for 2 nights.
May 25th. I think I saw them that same, May 25th at the Bayou, which I think they had worked out the moshing thing by then, as long as it wasn't violent. They would let people jump around in 87. They couldn't stop people.
Well, that's the show that the Necros and Overkill played with them. And I remember Barry Hensler, the singer for the Necros, came out on stage, their first song, and was so excited and probably high that he walked off the stage accidentally and fell off the front of the stage. He just walked off. And fell into the crowd.
He just kept walking and just fell into the crowd. Now that was about a 4.5 foot, 5 foot drop.
Yeah.
From that stage to the floor. Yeah.
The stage was about shoulder high for me. So that's at least probably 5 feet or close to 5 feet.
Yeah.
But I do believe he was caught by the crowd and he didn't get hurt. But I remember hearing him talk about it after the show. Like, oh, dude, I was so high. I just walked off the stage.
Well, I got a good story from that show. We had been to the Bayou a bunch of times, and we've talked about this. I think that was in the very first episode we talked about the Bayou, and there were no backstage dressing rooms. Everything was upstairs at the other end of the venue. So you had to walk through the venue to get to the stage. So we knew where the dressing rooms were. They were right next to the men's bathroom. And Sean and I, between bands, decided that we were just going to walk into the dressing room to see what happened, right? And we walk back there, and there's Dave getting his hair done, right? And he looked up and he goes, "What are you guys doing here?" And I said, "Oh, we thought this was the bathroom." And he's like, "It's not. Get out." And we ran out and then ran back and ran into the next door, which was the bathroom, and had a really good laugh. because of course there was no security at the door to stop people from going back there. And we just walked all the way in, and there's Dave sitting there getting his hair done before the show.
Yeah, for some reason, they never had security in front of the door. You could just, if you had the stones to do it, you could just walk back. Which brings up another story a friend of mine had. My friend Mike and his buddy. His buddy was in a local band who played the Bayou somewhat frequently, and he liberated a bunch of backstage passes from the Bayou one night. And so he called up my buddy Mike one night and said, "Hey, Megadeth's playing at the Bayou. You want to go see him?" And Mike was like, "Okay." So they go, they fill out the pass so they can get in. They walk through the front door, no problems. Everything's fine. And then they decide they want to go back to it's not really backstage. It's just the dressing room, basically.
It was a dressing room, right? Yeah.
Which was at the back of the club upstairs. And Richie walked in and Mike said, "Oh, I'm going to go get a drink." And he went to the bar and he said he was coming back with his and his buddy's drink. And his buddy's being escorted out by a bouncer. And it's like, you can't go back to the the dressing rooms. And he didn't make it clear if they got tossed out of the show or not, but they definitely got tossed out of the dressing room.
Yeah, we didn't get tossed out. We had the what did you say? The stones for both of us just to walk back there. No backstage laminate, no dressing room access laminate, nothing. We just opened the door and walked back there, and not knowing what to expect. I'd never been back there before, and it was a small room that was like,
there was 2 rooms and a bathroom.
Yeah. Right.
2
and we just walked right in.
Yeah.
We just walked right in. Dave Mustaine yelled at us, "What are you doing back here?" "Oh, we thought this was the bathroom," and ran out laughing and went into the bathroom and just sat there and laughed for a while.
I wonder if this was the same night that my friend Mike went and Dave was like, "God damn, what is it with these people walking back here?"
Yeah. Well, again, that was May 25th, 1987 at the Bayou. And I remember that clearly. It was a good show. We had a really good laugh about Dave getting his hair done, and everybody had long hair back then. But I guess as a rock star, you needed a hairstylist in order to before you went on stage.
Got to get the hair blown out.
And that's cool. And then the next time you and I saw him, right? No, you saw him in 87 at the Bayou, right?
87.
No, we just talked about that.
The next time I saw him was at the Ritchie Coliseum. There was a tour with Sanctuary and Warlock. It was April 12th, 1988. And Ritchie Coliseum is at the University of Maryland. And I got to go to see them play there. And I can't remember now who I got the passes from, if I got them from Warlock's record label, which was Polygram, or if I got it from Capitol again, because Megadeth was playing. But I wasn't expecting to go backstage or anything, but I ran into Joey Balin, who was managing Warlock at the time, and I had met them previously, him and Doro, the singer for Warlock. So they said, "Hey," they recognized me and said, "Come on backstage and chat with us." So I was back there and I ran into Dave Mustaine, and he recognized me from having been poorly interviewed by me previously and met me a couple other times at the Bayou. And he proceeded to high five me and said, "Hey, homeboy," smack. And oh my God, he slapped my hand so hard with a high five. I mean, it hurt. He's not a big guy. I'm a big guy. He's not a big guy, but he was definitely on something too.
Yeah, he came in hard. Yeah, I mean, those were the heroin years, Dave Mustaine, the heroin addict. But yeah, that's cool. At least he recognized you. And don't you have a picture of you and Dora like hanging out in the alleyway behind the Bayou?
There's a picture of me and Dave and Junior at the Bayou in the dressing room.
Okay. You need to dig that up, man. We need to show the people that picture.
Yeah, I'll send that to you.
That would be great. Yeah, I'll add it. All right, and then the next show
you can see
that we
my
both
mullet.
saw. Yeah, you can see your mullet
and my mustache.
You never had a mullet, dude. Your hair was all
No,
like one leg.
I had a mullet.
Did you really? We all had mullets, man. I have a mullet today, and I shouldn't. I need to get my hair cut. So we saw them December 9th, 1990 at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland.
And this is
with Testament and Judas Priest, right?
The Marty Friedman era, the Marty Friedman and Nick Menza era.
Yes. 1990, Rust in Peace comes out, and they were touring with, Testament opened up first, and then Megadeth played, and then, of course, Judas Priest played, and they were supporting that Rust in Peace album with that show. And I went with my brother Mike and Sean, I think, was there. And I don't remember, there was one other person. It may have been Sarah. I don't know.
Probably.
It probably was. And I definitely remember the Testament set because we didn't get to see Testament much. In the 80s, we did it or during the 90s, we saw them a lot at Jack's. But to be on a big tour like that, we'd never seen them do a big tour like that. So that was cool. And of course, Priest put on a killer show. And, I'm sure we could go back and look at the set list. But Megadeth was just, in great form in 1990 with that lineup. What a fantastic show.
And your brother Mike and I went to the Rockville Tower Records. I guess it was the same day as the show.
Tower Records. Wow.
And Megadeth was doing a record signing, a meet and greet record signing. So we got our Rust in Peace CD signed. And I can't remember if Dave recognized me or not, but it was
a few years.
Yeah, it'd been a few years. It was fun though. My hair was probably a lot longer. I no longer had the mullet.
That's hilarious.
And then the next time I saw Megadeth was at the Clash of the Titans tour, which we've covered previously.
Right. That is episode 7. That is episode 7, which we'll be releasing later today, most likely. The Clash of the Titans tour, and I saw them as well on that Clash of the Titans tour, but I was in Miami.
Yeah, and I was in Baltimore,
and we talked about that tour. That Clash of the Titans tour in episode 7, so we don't need to rehash any of that stuff. But what a great show! Again, touring with that Rust in Peace and that lineup, and just an amazing show at the Miami Arena.
Yeah, just as an aside, I had seen Marty Friedman previously play in his band Hawaii when they opened up for Emerson, Lake and Powell at the Cap Center when I saw them.
Yeah, you being the fanboy that you are with Cozy Powell.
Yes.
We talk about that in episode 8. Hopefully everybody's listened to that. So I actually saw them toward the end of the 90s. August 2nd, 1998, they were on the Ozfest tour. Don't remember much about that show, but I do remember seeing Megadeth, and every Ozfest was just a great experience. Then I saw them open up, or no, they didn't open up. I saw them November 5th in 1992 at the Patriot Center in Fairfax, which is, George Mason University. We've spoken about our love for WGMU and our early days of radio, college radio. And that was an MTV Headbangers Ball Presents.
Oh, wow.
I don't know who opened up, but I do remember being there at the Capitol Center or the Patriot Center, because it's so close to the house. I mean, it's not very far. It was a really great show. And then there was a long period of time where I just, raised a family, really didn't see too many shows. And the ones I did, again, being broke, starting a new family. The next set of tickets I bought were for Megadeth and Lamb of God. And I think everybody who has listened to the podcast knows what a great Lamb of God fan I am. So to see those two bands together, we were all psyched. I mean, a whole group of us were going to go see Megadeth and Lamb of God. And then it got canceled. It was supposed to be on June 12th, 2020 at the Jiffy Lube Live in Bristow, Virginia. And I still have the ticket stubs for that, never got used. I was so disappointed that I didn't get to see Megadeth and Lamb of God together. It sucked, but the state of the world, they weren't doing, all the concerts were canceled in the summer of 2020. So they weren't letting anybody tour, and they weren't letting any of those venues have any, live music or anything. Well, and then, go ahead.
I was going to say, in hindsight, what I really wished I'd done was that I'd stayed working at the radio station and doing my metal show. And so I could have continued to get free passes for us when you were raising a family and didn't have the income to put aside for concerts. And I was just poor working my vending company job.
Right. And, that was a whole volunteer thing. You were a student. I was a volunteer. I don't know. I think, I got a full-time job or whatever, or I was, the family, I was burning out. So yeah. I didn't stay at WGMU.
Yeah. I wish I had, because it was fun going to all those shows. It was a lot of fun.
It was. And it still is a great time going to shows. We just have to approach it a little differently now. You know what I mean? It's not, forward we go, damn the torpedoes, no matter what we do, we're going to just have a good time. Now we got to find a seat. I got to know where the bathroom is. There's all those things that come with getting older. Yeah, all those things. So, and the next time that I got to see Megadeth was they opened up for Five Finger Death Punch on September 10th, 2022. And that was a fantastic show. I took my two sons and like a third son in the neighborhood who I saw grow up, lived down the street, was best friends with my youngest son. And all four of us went to see Megadeth. My oldest son's a Five Finger Death Punch fan, and they put on a really good show. But we went there to see Megadeth, right? So Megadeth, we got lawn seats, right? Pavilion's
Oh,
a little
yeah.
expensive. And so we bought the lawn seats, and Megadeth comes on, and I lose my mind. I start jumping around trying to start a mosh with these other three guys. My two sons and my third son. We're just like, I'm like slamming it out. I'm like screaming my brain out. After like the third song, I kind of stopped and got my breath and was still singing. And a Live Nation representative came up to me, because I kind of strayed from the pack. I kind of went sideways and then stopped and caught my breath. And she saw me standing there, and she comes up and says, "Hey, would you like to go down into the pavilion?" And I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And she goes, "Well, I have seats to the pavilion, and obviously you're a big fan. I can see you jumping around. Would you like a ticket to go down and sit in the pavilion?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I would, but I'm with those other three guys over there. You got tickets for them too?" And
Yeah.
she said yes.
Oh.
So she gave us 4 tickets to section 101, and we go down and see the last 3 Megadeth songs of the set. It was fantastic. I probably have video of it. I know I have some pictures. I'll put them up on the screen as we go on. And the set ends, and we're like, "Wow, we got pavilion seats for Five Finger Death Punch." We go to the bathroom, and we're coming back to the bathroom. I go to get a beer, and I reach my back pocket, and my ticket's gone. My ticket stuff's gone. My ticket stuff's gone. And here I'm like, I have to explain to these 3 guys that I'm with, my 2 sons, and the third son, a pseudo son, that Pops is a little tipsy and lost his ticket stub and is not going to be able to get back in the pavilion. So they, instead of ditching Pops and going and sitting in those seats, they said, "It's okay. We'll go to the lawn and watch Five Finger Death Punch. It's okay, Dad." So I felt kind of bad, but we really got one. We're there to see, Megadeth. But I lost the ticket, and they were like, "No, we're not ditching you." Because I was like, "Oh, I'll go watch it on the lawn, man. It's not a big deal. I'll be right there. You guys come find me when the show's over with." They're like, "No, we're not ditching you. We're all sticking together." So they came up on the lawn, and Five Finger Death Punch comes out, and there's 2 guys probably 10 feet from us that are losing their mind to the Five Finger Death Punch, right? They're jumping around just like we were for Megadeth, right? They started doing that with Five Finger Death Punch. So what does my youngest son do? He gets the tickets from the other 2 guys, walks over to the guys that were jumping around that were, super fans of Five Finger Death Punch, and gives them the pavilion seats to go down and watch the show in the pavilion. And I thought, okay, what a great way to celebrate both bands and let somebody who was a super fan. We were super fans of Megadeth. Those guys were standing around watching us jump around and what happened to us. And we come back to the lawn, and we're watching Five Finger Death Punch, and they start jumping around, and then they get to use those tickets. So it kind of worked out for the better, because, true fans of both bands got a chance to be down in the pavilion, courtesy of Live Nation and that rep. And it just was a really cool, thing to happen. We got to see the last 3 songs, and then they got to go. I didn't even remember their names. I didn't even meet them. Kyle did all this on his own. He saw them and went over and said, "Hey, we got these tickets to the pavilion. Pop's lost his ticket. We're hanging out here. Take these tickets, go down and sit in the pavilion." So
that's so awesome.
Yeah. And you go to these shows, and to be upgraded like that, for no apparent reason other than being a crazy fan jumping around, really renewed my faith in that particular venue, that out of all the people that were standing there, this young lady decided that we were worthy of those tickets. So it was great. It was a fantastic show. Five Finger Death Punch didn't disappoint. I'm a Five Finger Death Punch fan, but again, we went to see Megadeth, right? Megadeth comes, my son wants to go. And, with them touring next year, that same group of guys, including yourself and me, have decided that when Megadeth releases their tour dates, we're going to see every show between Baltimore and Virginia Beach. That whole Midwestern or Mid-East corridor, DC, Richmond, Baltimore, we're going to go see every show that we can possibly make, depending on schedules. But we're all committed to going see Megadeth's, last few shows, here on the East Coast and Middle East Coast.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Johnny? Right, Johnny?
I'm psyched.
Yeah, you're going to go. We'll have a seat for you. If not, we'll get lawn seats and we'll get you one of them folding chairs you can sit in, even though at our age, it's kind of hard to get out of those chairs. You kind of have to roll out of them. So where do you want to go from here? You want to just, 40-year span of a career is hard to put into one podcast.
It is. And a lot of albums. How many albums? This 13 albums, 14 albums that Megadeth released? Or no, more than that, I think.
With this release of the self-titled album next year, it'll be 17 studio albums.
Oh, okay.
Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, which was 85.
Right.
Peace Sells, But Who's Buying, 1986. So Far, So Good, So What, 1988. Rust in Peace, 1990. Countdown to Extinction, 1992. Euthanasia, 1994. Cryptic Writings, 1997. Risk, 1999. The World Needs a Hero, 2001. The System Has Failed, 2004. United Abominations, 2007. Endgame, 2009. 13, 2011. Superconductor, 2013. Dysphoria, 2016. The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, 2022. And then their last album, apparently, as a band, will be released next year, called Megadeth in 2026, which we had mentioned previously.
Well, I'd say that's a hell of a career.
Yeah, Dave's had a hell of a career. And, I think they won. Which album did they win a Grammy for, Johnny?
They
won
Risk?
A metal performance. Yeah, it may have been Risk. It was an 8th studio album.
For Crush 'Em, that was like the big single, I think.
Okay, I'm trying to read on Wikipedia, but either way, they definitely won. They definitely won a Grammy for metal performance. Oh well, if you want to know, there it is. They received 12 Grammy nominations and won their first Grammy in 2017 for the song Dysphoria.
Oh, okay.
In the best metal performance category.
Excellent. Good on you, as they say down under.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Dave was into accolades. He just wanted to be heavy and wanted to be the best metal band there ever was.
And successful.
And I think he did.
He wanted
successful.
to make a career out of it. Yeah. Which he did. He fulfilled both those stipulations.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about the history of the band, but, that's not what we're doing here. We just want to express our love for Megadeth and how the metal scene will be different without them, right? And all the bands that they've influenced over the years. I mean, this genre started in 83, 80, 81, 81 to 83. They were just taking on the world, creating new music, a new genre, and bringing everybody along with them. Metallica moved out of LA and went to San Francisco. Dave stayed in LA after he got kicked out.
Well, right.
And Metallica's...
Metallica moved to San Francisco because that's where Cliff Burton was from. And that was the deal. They moved to San Francisco to get Cliff to be in the band. Right.
And there was a lot of metal underground bands at that time coming out of the Bay Area. Yeah.
Yes.
Death Angel, Exodus, just to name a few of those bands that came out of that scene in San Francisco at the time. But Dave stayed in LA and formed Megadeth, and the rest is history.
Yeah, good history for the most part.
The book talks about how many times his heart stopped from ODing, and I think it was close to 10, 11 times to where he literally OD'd, and he overcame it. And was able to move on in his music career. I also want to bring up the fact that in 2002, let me see where the discography goes from there. In 2002. So there was a period of time where they didn't release any music. Okay, so The World Needs a Hero. And then Dave, in 2002, puts out a press release saying that he got in a horrendous... he had to put the band on hiatus because he suffered an injury, which caused severe nerve damage to his left arm and hand, and it was diagnosed as radial nepathy. God, I can't read this morning.
Those medical words.
Right. And it was a compressed radial nerve. And the doctors told him that it'd take him about a year to make a full recovery. So he had to stop playing in 2002. And it wasn't until 2004 when he came back and started, doing new music with the system had failed.
And to be honest, he was fortunate that his nerve did heal, because I have nerve damage in my left arm that did not fully heal.
Yeah, he worked at it. He worked hard at it. I mean, that's how he made his living, was playing guitar. And we thought at that time we thought he was done, like he would never play again.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it was serious. We all thought that the nerve damage was permanent.
So not only did he survive ODing like 11 times, he survived this nerve damage in his left arm and his hand, which, if you play guitar right-handed, your left hand's doing all the work. So for him to come back from that is amazing, that he actually decided that he wasn't going to let this thing beat him, and he was going to continue to put out great music. And he did. The series of albums that came out after that, The System Has Failed, United Abominations, Endgame, which I was I bought all those albums, Superconductor, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. Nowadays you just go to Pandora or Spotify or whatever, YouTube, and you can pick up music for free. But back, up
but
until that point,
if you're a real fan, you go out and buy the damn CD.
Right. You buy the CD, you buy a T-shirt to support the band, you pay whatever money it costs. Because, the Bayou, if I look at these tickets for the Bayou in 86, it was like $7.50 to go see Megadeth. You know what I mean? And then, the next year it was $11. Now you can't get a seat for $65.
No.
So obviously touring is more expensive and there's more legalities, but I will pay that money gladly this time around, I'm going to make a special Megadeth fund so that we can have decent accommodations, transportation, and good seats. I'm just going to do it because, we may not get another chance. We won't get another chance. This is it.
Yeah,
right?
This is, as far as we know, this is it.
And we'll be back in the new year once we see these shows, and we will run down all the greatness that is Megadeth. It's sad to see him go. I'm happy that they're doing a last tour. I hope it's not fake. I hope he's not doing it just as a money grab. But, the guy's up there, man. How old is he? He's like 68 or something like
that? Is he that old? Is he 10 years older than me? I don't know. Maybe.
He looks like he's 90, actually, all the shit that he's been through.
Yeah, well, dying 11 times probably puts a few years on you.
Yeah, he's very fortunate that he bounced back from all of that, and the nerve damage, right? I mean,
right.
You can overcome a overdose, but when your nerves are damaged, and the press release that I read never really gave full explanation of how he damaged his arm. I don't know if he's ever told anybody that publicly on how he damaged his arm.
Well, you can get it just from I had not damage, but I compressed my radial nerve by being on my computer and leaning on my elbow. I compressed my nerve slightly and had problems like years ago. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but
he came back from all those adversities, not only being kicked out of the biggest band in the metal band in the world right now. He created another genre, back in the day. He overcame all the addictions. He overcame this, his nerve damage, and has, they invited Megadeth back for those, big 4 tours.
Oh yeah.
Right. So he got to reconcile with the guys in the band. Plus there was that segment of Some Kind of Monster that Metallica put out where him and Lars are sitting in a hotel room, and it's kind of a weird scene, but it looks like they had, pretty much buried the hatchet at that point, and bygones be bygones. So he overcame a lot.
I know Lars wrote the liner notes for the 25th anniversary of Peace Cells edition. I think that's Lars' favorite Megadeth album as well.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite albums. And they're all of them, really. I mean, there was Risk. I wasn't a big Risk fan at that time. Dave was trying to get some radio music, right? He was trying to break into the radio scene because there was no, the rock stations wouldn't touch him.
Plus, he was trying to placate Marty Friedman.
Right. And plus it wasn't until Enter Sandman when all of a sudden metal was cool again.
Yes.
It brought it to the mainstream. And to be honest with you, that's pretty much when I stopped listening to Metallica. When that album came out, but I had other priorities. I'm still a Metallica fan, but I've always stuck by Megadeth. Always stuck by them because they were true to their roots, and Dave didn't let anybody dictate what he was going to write or what he was going to play or what he was going to produce and how he was going to do it. He did it on his terms, and here we are 40 some years later, and he's saying goodbye. So again, it's kind of sad, but I really can't wait for the rest of the album and to see them on tour next year a few times, hopefully.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it as well.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of the Suffering Meatball Chronicles. We appreciate everybody listening. We've got a pretty core group of people that listen. Got a lot of great feedback from the Ron Ashton tribute episode 5, which Johnny and I poured our hearts into. Dennis Tech contacted John. He listened to the episode and fact checked me on the fact that the first Stooges album was not recorded on a reel-to-reel in a basement somewhere.
It was recorded
in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Factory in New York City.
I still laugh about that Dennis Tech would take the time to listen to that podcast and pick out that one at all the things that he could have nitpicked at or whatever, corrected me on, because I'm always just stating facts that aren't true. And Johnny, fact checks me. But he pointed that out and said that no, it was done in a studio in New York City. But he agreed that didn't get the notoriety that it should have until years later. But that's funny. But we love everybody's comments and we love doing this and we really appreciate everybody's support and input. Right?
Yeah. So keep listening.
Yeah, and Johnny's got one last thing to say.
Go get your own damn podcast.
I don't care how many times I play that. It's still funny. All right. Yes. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you. And that's a wrap on this episode of Suffering Meatball Chronicles. Thanks for rolling through the memories with us, no matter how fuzzy the details were. We might not get every date right or remember every band name perfectly, but the energy, the stories, that's what really sticks. This show is all about celebrating the magic of live music, one meatball memory at a time.
Until next time, keep your ears open, your heart loud, and never trust your set list memory after beer number 3 or 4
or 5 or 6.
How many you had in the parking lot.